Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Sam McCord, founder of MCG Biocomposites, LLC, a veteran-owned company producing innovative, sustainable plant markers under the MCG BioMarkers brand. With a commitment to eco-friendly solutions, Sam's products support both gardeners and the environment. How are you doing today, Sam?
Doing good.
Awesome. I was excited to have you on. I enjoyed our last conversation. You're doing things that I've never really thought too much about. So it's super interesting to me. And there's a lot of people out there that'll find it interesting as well. So to start off, where are you located? Where are you calling in from?
Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Okay. Another local Iowan. I've been running into quite a few of you lately. So it's been a lot of fun. How's Iowa?
Typical. One day it's nice and warm. The other day, and then today, Mother Nature decided to throw a few storms and lots of winds. So
yeah,
that's what it is.
We'll see what happens. It's the Midwest. It's bipolar. That's all we can do. So anyway, how long have you been in Iowa? You've been here forever, or are you newer to the area?
Born and raised, Waterloo, Iowa.
Awesome. So you have friends coming into town, right? Never been to Iowa before. Never visited you. Where are you going? What are you doing? And what are you doing for dinner?
Wow, that's a tough one there because there's plenty of choices for dinner. The baristas are very good. Perkins is, the old standby, if you will. But if you really want some quality, go to Biaggi's for a really good Italian dinner.
Yeah. Well, what's fun? Where are you taking them before dinner?
Well, we might go have a cocktail at any of the local, really nice watering holes that we have. But actually the liquor and everything else at Biaggi's and the wine is fantastic. So it's all in one.
Yeah.
It saves time and money.
Yeah, you definitely like it when all the entertainment, everything you need is there at the one place. Definitely.
Absolutely.
And the thing with Iowa too is trying to figure out what you're going to go do is kind of weather dependent and time of the year dependent. Whereas restaurant, yeah, we can go do it, have fun. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the weather is as long as they're open.
Yeah, awesome. So what can you tell us about what you do?
What I do, that's a $64 question. When I started, actually I had a consulting firm for a number of years. Specialized in the recruiting of plastics specialists. And we worked with companies all across the nation. Did that for a number of years. That kind of parlayed into working with a customer and helping them develop biocomposite resins. And the reason I got in touch with them is they did a presentation to one of my organizations. And they laid it out okay, but it wasn't very good. What they needed was some project management to help them get from A to B and C to D, and they agreed to bring me on board to help them do that. And that's really the start of what got me into the biocomposite side. And because it was just, put it this way, we weren't meant to work with one another, put it politely. But since we developed, helped him develop all of the proprietary information, we owned it because they didn't pay us. So we took this information, when I say we, me, my wife, and another gentleman that was helping, and decided to look into this and start up a company that we could do biocomposite resins, which is taking reclaimed plastics and blending it in with fibers. In this case, it was corncob fiber. And that's how the journey really got started, back in 2009 or so. So it's 2007. So that's really how that got going.
Okay. Well, what was it in particular that made you go, that's definitely, me, my wife, business partner, this is what we're going to do? What was it that really stood out that kind of got you down that path? Like you said, it wasn't what you were supposed to do. So.
Good question, Anthony. Good question. Because I've been involved with the Society of Plastic Engineers for over 30 years. And what we were doing within the Society of Plastics Engineers, which is international, by the way, we were looking very, very hard at whether alternative materials could be developed using recycled post-industrial plastics, because that was the easiest and the best material to use if you're going to use for making another product with it. But also using fibers, natural fibers, because it does several things. It helps reduce weight, it reduces warpage and shrink, which are typical issues with polypropylene, high density polyethylene. And this stabilizes the product, so you don't have that issue. But the other thing, which is more important actually, is developing something that is sustainable. So there's plenty of post-industrial plastics available, plenty of fiber available, including hemp, which we use that as well. So when you combine the two, you're making it a much better product, and it's also value added. So you're not only closing, you're truly closing the loop, is what it boils down to, Anthony, because you can do the chasing circles, the reduce, reuse, recycle, but I put a fourth value, and that's repurpose. And actually, there's a fifth. That's called value-added product.
Okay. So that's really interesting. What is it? Now that you're doing this and you're adding all that extra value, you're repurpose, you're doing all the stuff. What is it that you love most about it? What's really the most fulfilling part of it?
Well, the challenge is, quite honestly, is because all the other naysayers out there say, no, you can't do this. And I'm not going to name names, but is within the plastics injection mold processing, which is the largest area for processing materials. Most of them are not familiar with that, and some of them don't really want to do it because they got to change. They're accustomed to doing what they're doing, and they're doing it very well. I mean, I don't blame them. You have to have a reason. There's got to be a reason to make that change. And for the most part, it's the bottom line. Am I going to be saving money and going to save time? And that's what we have to prove to them, that yes, you can, but it's saved in a different way because of the lower temperatures, can be as much as 50 degrees lower. That's an energy savings. And you don't have to do anything special with your tooling. So there's no changing in that, because so many thought, oh, you got it'll rust, you'll have to use stainless steel. So that's all misinformation.
Yeah, that's awesome. There is definitely a lot of fulfillment in somebody saying, you can't do this, it's not going to work.
That's exactly right. So what that does, to finish that thought, is we can do this, and we can prove to people that we can do that. And we had specialists within the field that could help us with that. Actually, it was the company that we were working with to do the compounding, and they really have it nailed down to the T.
It's awesome. When you're looking at your average client or organization or business or whatever it is, who you're best able to serve or help, what does that look like? What are the pain points that they might be going through that if they're dealing with X, Y, or Z, you're the person they should be talking to?
Well, our target customer, quite frankly, with the brand, with the biomarker brand, with the plant markers, there's probably 4 different categories. You have one that's the individual gardener, which is over 53 million gardeners, and through the research that we conducted. And then secondly, you have the commercial side, which is your garden centers. And there's somewhere around, 53,000 different garden centers throughout the nation. And then you have another market, which is the commercial side, but that's on the wholesale side. So those are companies that are already selling into the horticulture market. So they have a variety of products that they're selling into the garden centers, but also across the board. And then you have another avenue, which is called master gardeners. And those that are also in the various flower societies, which there's many, many, many. There's daylilies, iris, you name it, all the flower societies. That is a huge, huge segment. It's very difficult to get the numbers on that, but it's in the millions, way in the millions. And they love specialty products. They want quality, and they also want a reasonable price, but they're willing to pay more for the quality. And also they are moving very, very swiftly into the sustainability aspect. And that's when we talked about, the biocomposite resin, but also the biodegradable resin, which is compostable. We use the 9-inch series to produce that. And that's also goes into the nurseries for the most part, and also those who are very, very conscientious of sustainability, recyclability, but also compostability. So we're meeting all spectrums, which is hard to do for our competition, quite frankly.
Okay. And then when you're looking at like power partners or other industries or professionals that you can synergize well with, maybe work well with, collaborate with, find a lot of referral ground with, what does that look like with you?
Well, actually, the master gardeners do a fantastic job at referring. They have what they call conferences and seminars, and what they do to attract even more interest is they bring in vendors like myself, but other people who have all kinds of products to sell, and they're typically from localities. And what that does, it helps promote small business in our areas, is what that does.
Okay. And what you guys are doing is very unique. It's not pedestrian. It's not something you hear about every day. But at its core, it's still business. So what advice would you give to a newer aspiring entrepreneur?
Lots. Let me tell you, it. I've been fortunate in setting up my own consulting businesses, so I had an idea of how to do that. I've already had CPAs and attorneys, so that's the formal side of forming a business. Okay, but when you're looking at starting at something that's brand new or just off center, if you will, from what traditional products are made of, you're going after something that's alternative, so it's different. In starting up that company, you need to get mentors. You need to get people who understand the financing, understand what it's going to take to start up, how much money is it going to take to get going, but also what type of specialty are you going to be providing that nobody else does, and are there people out there that can help you ramp up and really work with the business. I didn't have that because it was so long ago. There's organizations like SCORE, for example, or CIRRUS, which is part of the universities. So those are nonprofits. They're free of charge. You don't have to hire them, but they will help you get going because they have specialists that will help you in all those segments. Because it's not an easy task, because basically I was setting up a company that would be like traditional manufacturing. I wouldn't be doing the manufacturing, but we had to understand what it was going to take to get the various suppliers, what's your distribution channels, all of those things. So get professional help so that they can help you reduce mistakes.
Absolutely. Fantastic advice. It doesn't matter what you're doing. There's going to be a lot to learn starting a
You're
business.
there, and you're going to make mistakes. That's all part of the process, but you'll learn from them and don't do it again.
Yep. Yeah. You're either going to have that freebie where you make the mistake and can learn from it, or you're going to have somebody teach you how. Right? There's
For
the
the
two
most
ways
part,
you learn.
Anthony, there aren't any freebies because there's two aspects. A mistake costs both time and money. Money you can get back. The time is gone, and that's critical.
Yeah.
You started your company and you made mistakes on the way that you wish you wouldn't have if someone was there to guide you to do the proper
Yeah.
thing.
When I say freebie, I mean self-taught.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay, there you go.
yeah,
I'm
no,
with
it's not free. There's no such
There's
thing as
no
a
free
free
lunch.
lunch, right?
No.
So, so awesome. So, how can biodegradable materials revolutionize sustainable gardening?
Well, for one thing, what you're doing is you're reducing waste. Now, the markers themselves, the stakes, they last a very long time. They biodegrade when you put them into the soil, because it's the microbes that's eating away at the marker, at the material is what it does. So field wise, they're going to be probably around a good 5-6 years or more. And for most nurseries and most gardeners, that's fine, because we make more and they can buy more.
Okay. And then, how can businesses use eco-friendly products to reduce their environmental impact?
Well, for one thing, we're not going zero carbon. I mean, that to me is kind of a fallacy. You're reducing the amount of carbon that you're putting into the system, because number one, you're not producing a brand new material. What you're doing is recapturing the materials. So basically, all you're providing there is just, or what's the expense that you have is the recovery and then the shipping of the material and the products, but you're not producing a brand new product, or material, I should say, because that way you're reducing the amount of carbon content that way.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
How can innovation in biocomposites create stronger and more sustainable products?
Well, the biocomposite resin lasts just as long as the virgin material, which is typically polypropylene, which is the widest used for outdoor products. So what you're doing is you're using a product for a very, very long time. So ask me that question again. I might have missed something.
No. So how can innovation in biocomposites create a stronger and more sustainable product?
Well, what it does, it takes the pressure off of the recyclers because they have a steady stream. Because there's going to be more companies that will use the material to produce more products. That's where it's going to help an awful lot, as opposed to just taking it to the landfill and dumping it into the landfill. It's not going to decompose for thousands of years, because what you're doing when you put it into a landfill and they put a layer on top, a clay layer on top, you're cutting off the oxygen. You got to have two things, with three things: oxygen, light, which is UV, and water, because the UV is what breaks things down.
Absolutely. So, no matter what it is somebody's doing, how niche, how specific, there's always, competition. There's always other people out there doing something similar or similar enough to not really make too big of a difference. So why you? What sets you guys apart from everybody else out there?
Well, for one thing, I'm the only company that's doing it in the U.S. There's no other company. I mean, there are other companies that are producing plastic markers, but they're not using my material. They're using virgin quality materials. What they're doing on the plastic side, and then you have the other metals out there. The zinc, the copper, the aluminum, that type of thing. So I mean, there's no comparison, quite frankly, between the two.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, that's interesting. I know we could go down all the rabbit holes, and I want to understand most of it. But in general, is there anything that I missed or failed to ask that you wanted to add?
Okay. One thing I just want to emphasize on the material that's biodegradable or compostable, it is USDA certified for biodegradability, and that is not easy to attain. But the thing that I like about it, it's a very good material. It processes far better than I ever thought it would. And that in itself is an achievement.
Absolutely. So there's going to be people out there that have questions that, are, wanting to know more specifics. What's the best way that they get a hold of you, or how can they find you?
Well, I take phone calls. You don't have to send me. You can send me an email. I answer those. You can go to my website and just give me a call.
Perfect. And I'll put that all in the show notes so people are, able to, get a hold of you right away. We're going to make it real easy.
I'm more than happy to talk to people, because I'm very passionate about what we're doing, because it's really setting the standard for a lot of new production out there, because it's helping, quite frankly, people having a better understanding that we can really do what we say we can do. So it's testimonial, if you will. I've got a lot of customers out there that like. In fact, I just delivered a large order to a garden center that's local, and I happened to meet the two owners, and they were, look, absolutely giddy. They just love the product. They just said, we're just so happy we have you as a small business. We really appreciate what you're doing, because we love the product. Our customers love it, because every time they order each year, their order doubles in size. So that is testament. When orders are coming in and they're being doubled, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a good sign. Definitely better than the alternative. So
you got that right. We don't need you anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So if anybody would like to get a hold of Sam, absolutely do it. Reach out, have that conversation. He's more than willing to, pour into this and go as deep as you need, because, he's a wealth of knowledge. Clearly, I can't even do the questions justice. So reach out, have that conversation.
Well, one thing I will say, it just dawned on me. Mm-hmm. The fact is, I just got an order. But anyway, the thing is that I am working very heavily in the educational component. I have a lot of schools, Montessori schools, but also municipal schools across the country that are teaching children about gardening. And the reason they're teaching them about gardening is about sustainability, but self-sufficiency. Why do we need to grow the crops at our home and things of that nature? But it's an educational opportunity. Plus, with my markers, they do get educated. I give them information of how the product is made and why we're doing what we're doing. And we're doing it all across the nation. And I think, and also I'm working with a lot of universities is in their research departments as well, because they're doing a lot of research with various species, and they have to identify everything, and they want a product that also meets their sustainability goals too. Say that 3 times.
No, I'll just let you say it the once. No, so perfect. Well, yeah, everybody out here, we all know a gardener. We all know, homesteaders, people that, would definitely have this benefit. So reach out, have that conversation with Sam. Wealth of knowledge. He's the exact same in a one-to-one as he is here. So don't be nervous or shy. Feel free, make that connection. If anybody would like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Sam. If you were somebody would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Sam, thank you so much for coming on, kind of sharing a little bit about yourself, what you're doing. You're doing awesome things. You're making a big impact, and the world's going to be a better place because of it. So I really appreciate you and everything you guys are doing. So let's all go. Have an awesome day and grow our circles, all right?
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.